Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. If we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Chalsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello and welcome to the start of season 6 for the At the Show podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Yumper Garcia, and my other co-host is Mr. Sugarbaggy Tony Burt. How you doing, Mr. Burt?
Doing good. Glad to be back. How are you, my friend?
Very happy to be back to be talking movies, especially on a very zero below day in Chicago area. All across the nation, actually. There's 40 states that are going through this ice storm. And man, is it cold outside.
Very cold. And I think we picked a real good one to dig into tonight for this cold.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that we decided to do it today and we have this gigantic storm coming through. Shout out to everybody who's working outside. Keep warm, and I hope you guys get done with work if you're not already. And warm up because it's really bad out there.
Very, 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 very dangerous, and definitely important to definitely warm up.
Yes, sir. What's up, Mr. Brian? So, Tone, I melt ice, Sam. So, Tone, let's go right back into our normal swing of things, my friend, and go into what we've been watching.
That's a me, and also... what were you just watching?
So what were you watching, my friend?
All right. This week I've watched a couple brand new things, including today. I watched the brand new Mel Brooks documentary that just premiered on HBO. It's a 2-part documentary, hour and 50 minutes about each episode, and really, really digs deep into Mel Brooks. Things that I didn't know and things that really inspired me to the point of just really, really, really cool things like in the world of film. If it wasn't for Mel Brooks, we wouldn't have had a David Lynch or a David Cronenberg, which is really crazy to think about because both of those directors seem nothing like what Mel Brooks is. But dig into this documentary. It's really good. Mel's comedy, his journey from the beginning is really actually interesting. And us talking film a lot and a lot of directors, and I've talked film for years and years and years and years. And I for some reason, I just never have talked about Mel as being like a great director. But you know what? He is a great director. He's one of the best in his field. And when you really look back at some of the films, like a couple weeks ago, me and Katie watched High Anxiety. Just a really good filmmaker, and this really does a good job of showing some of those talents and really get some good interviews by guys like Dave Chappelle. You get Rob Reiner and one of his last interviews, Carl Reiner. You get a lot of good stuff in it, but definitely check it out if you have not.
Definitely will, and I totally agree with you in terms of Mel Brooks being a great director, just a great creative mind. The Producers, one of my all-time favorite comedies that he did with Gene Wilder, and Zero Mostel, which I thought was awesome. I actually liked the remake. I mean, it wasn't as great as the original, of course, but the remake had the Broadway stars of Matthew Broderick and what's his name? Nathan Lane, who did the Broadway, and then they came back to do the film for a remake of it. Just a awesome mind. I'm not a huge fan of Spaceballs, but I do like the history of the Earth.
I'll be honest with you. Spaceballs, I would agree with you, is probably, I've never put it in this higher tier, but Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles, and as you said, History of the World, him being married to Anne Bancroft, Mrs. Robinson from which is just amazing story there. But you're right, everything that you said.
Yeah, it's he's 100 years old and still going strong.
Yeah.
And I guess they're gonna make Spaceballs 2. I guess with Josh Gad is gonna be spearheaded that, and it's coming out in 2027, I believe. So I definitely would check this out. This is on HBO Max, I'm assuming, because I see the
Yes,
graphic.
yes, it is. Yes, it is on HBO Max.
Cool.
And also, I watched brand new this last week. Came out on Netflix with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, called The Rip. And honestly, I enjoyed this movie quite a bit too. It was fun for what it was. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are pretty good in their field. There's some other actors that are in the movie too, like Kyle Chandler. I'm a pretty big fan of him. Steven Yeun from Walking Dead is in it. But I thought it was just a good action movie. And honestly, sometimes Netflix drops. That was if it sucked. It definitely would have stunk like a fart. But definitely an interesting movie if you like these actors and you like action. I mean, if you like, it's not as good as The Town, but it's a good time.
I haven't seen it, but I will check it out. Add it to my list on your recommendation.
Add it to the list. What have you been watching, my man?
So I watched the film Nonas. Now, I did not go in wanting to watch this film. I happened to be eating dinner late. I was doing some stuff, and I went upstairs to eat dinner. And Jen was watching this film with Vince Vaughn, and a lot of old school actresses are in it. From the lady from Sopranos, Tyler Shear's in it, Susan Sarandon, Linda Cardinelli's in it to go along with Joe Manganiello, Andrea Mateo's in it as well from Sopranos as well. I would say it's not a horrible film. It's basically about a guy who opens up a restaurant when his mom passes away, and he tries to basically do her recipes, and he invites a bunch of old grandmothers to make the food and share their passions from different parts of Italy. And he tries to make it a success. And then I found out the film was inspired by a true story, which I thought was pretty crazy. Was it a great film? No, but it was enjoyable. Have you seen this one?
Yeah, I actually saw it back when it was released, and you gave it about the fair assumption of what I would say is not terrible, no, but you got all these great actresses, and honestly, with just the okay script, Vince Vaughn does an okay job. He can handle it. He's got some wisecracks, and this movie is a good vehicle for him. So I agree with you.
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, to be honest with you, I can't remember the last Vince Vaughn film I watched that wasn't like old school or.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of fallen off. But
you ever watch that one where he goes to prison? It's a real serious movie.
I've seen clips of it, but I can't.
It's actually, dude. It's really really good. It's actually really good, and shockingly, and that's coming from me because I could tell you right now when I was about to watch it, I was even before you're about to speak. I know you're like, I can't take this seriously, but he deserved some flowers for that one, which shockingly, because he's got some real bad ones lately too, comedy wise. So it was about the only thing he's really done lately beside this and that. But yeah, check it out. I think
the Psycho remake kind of took me away from wanting to.
What the Flea's in it from the Chili Peppers? Come on.
It doesn't matter. I love Flea, but it doesn't matter. I also watched, I tried to get in to see what these long comedies and like sitcoms are all about. Never watched Cheers in my life. I remember seeing it on TV when I was younger. It would come on late at night. My aunt used to watch it, so I used to hear it. I know of Norm, George Wendt, because that's like common knowledge. And being from Chicago, he was from Chicago, of course, with the super fans on SNL. But I never watched the show, so I decided I'll check it out. I am in the first season, I think episode 12. It's okay. It's I can see why people liked it then. Rhea Perlman, I can see why she won so many Emmys for it. I still understand why the whole Ted Danson baseball player thing is kind of weird. But the coach is probably my favorite character. And I learned that he passes away in season 3, so he's no longer around there anymore because he really died in real life. But it's fine. I mean, have you watched Cheers? What are your thoughts about it?
I haven't watched it in a long time, but honestly, just about a couple hours ago, I was flipping through Pluto,
Mhm.
and it was on, and it started right at the beginning with the theme song, and that's one of the ultimate theme songs in history. The show itself, from what I remember, what I like to, I always do research on a lot of these people's like a lot of their stories, and Kelsey Grammer was partying pretty hardcore in the background of life while he was filming this. Like a lot of days, it was a struggle for him to show up to the set because of his abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, which is crazy because watching this as a kid, I used to think he was like the most straight-laced guy I'd ever seen. Like, this guy would never party. But the show holds up, like Brian says. And all these actors, Ted Danson, to see him on here, and then on Curb Your Enthusiasm, he has like white hair now. Just a lot of good actors doing what they do best.
Yeah, just really, really good. I actually used to watch Taxi, which, yeah, I feel old saying that, but
Andy Kaufman is good on that.
Andy Kaufman and Judd Hirsch,
He's good on that too.
But I'm kind of getting into Cheers. So I know Cheers has ran one of the longest running sitcoms there is. What's up, Gordo? I'm gonna be trying to finish it out. See, I still got other stuff I gotta watch as well, so I'm kind of putting it on while I'm doing work or whatnot. But it's a pretty quick watch. For those who have Paramount, you can watch it. It's there. And then finally, I know we both watched this. I watched the Stranger Things season 5 finale. We watched the first 4 episodes when it dropped in Christmas Eve, and then we watched the leading up episodes that dropped. Actually, it was Christmas Eve. The last 4 dropped before the final, and then before that, around Thanksgiving, the prior 4 dropped. Me and my wife watched it, and we watched the finale on New Year's Eve. I heard people that went to the theater. I was sucked into the whole conformity gate, not believing it, but I found it amazing that so many people were like really posting about this. I was in the Reddit reading about it. Like the theories were ridiculous. But I want to know what you think about the whole season as a total.
Well, you know what? I'm trying in 2026, trying to be as positive as I can. So I'll try to spin this as positive as I can. I since our amazing Sopranos episode, if you have not watched it, please go back and check it out. We broke down some amazing episodes. I can't stop watching the show. Like I'm back through it now, all the way through it again. And I just keep seeing things I never saw before. And even in that last season, which I used to despise, which I'm back on right now, I like it. And I just don't think I'll ever feel that way about this last season of Stranger Things. I mean, I think it's okay, but I've heard different things because man, I my sisters went to the movie theaters and so I mean they are really into it. So even there, I just this is how I approach it. If you enjoy the show and you like what you saw, that makes me happy. But as far as what I thought it was from the very beginning to what it ended as, it's just not the same to me. But I could just be different. That could just be my opinion.
So I didn't hate it. I just think they waited a little too long to release it. And I think, and the reason I say that is because there were a lot of plot holes that kind of went into this season that wasn't really matching the Duffer style. Now, I don't know if Netflix was pushing them, rushing them. I didn't watch the documentary that came out. So I can't tell you for sure. Did you watch it?
It's crazy to say rushing them when it took this long. It's crazy. No, and then not for you saying it, Netflix actually rushing them. Because you say to yourself, they had ample amount of time to pretty much produce one of the greatest seasons of all time. But we also know, though, that the way things go on in the background with as many films as we talk about, you just don't know whose hands get muddled in the pie.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I kind of felt because it wasn't the same kind of Duffer writing, because their stuff was the Duffers actually write pretty decent. I enjoyed the first 4 seasons. I
Yeah.
thought they were very, very good.
Mhm.
The chill, I can get past the kids being older. It's 18 months after. Yes, that's what happens. And the ending, I guess, left a lot of people kind of wanting more, and they were believing that it wasn't the end. So that's when all those theories came out, and then of course nothing happened.
No, that's why, like, you could take other shows where the kids have to age, and they age appropriately. I mean, if they waited this long, they could have. That's the problem, I think, for me, was even if they waited this long, they could have done a better job of presenting of how far along it went. Maybe that's my problem.
I think too, like the thing that kind of threw me off was at the end of season 4. There's all this doom and gloom. Like it's gray in the sky. It looks like horrible. It looks like the town's basically eating itself. And then we find out 18 months later it's sunshine and they're riding their bikes to school. And it's like that's what kind of threw me off when I first started watching it. And then the whole breakup scene with Charlie Heaton and Nancy, that was just horrible. But I didn't hate it. I wouldn't say it was their best season. It's probably their worst season out of the 5. But I want to see if the Duffers come back to it. Of course, they're releasing like prequel stuff, so I'm assuming they're probably gonna have to come back to this at some point later because they're seeing all the fans still wanting more. I don't know if I'll be interested in it then, but I mean, it is what it is.
I mean, if people like it, that's what's great. You know what I mean? It wasn't so terrible where I would never say to watch every season of the Stranger Things, because I always feel like you should always finish a show. Like even you, I appreciate you saying, I'm into Cheers. I'm going to try to watch it and see how far I could get, as opposed to going, I watched 8 episodes, I'm done. It's like, because you said you're already on the journey, you might as well see where it goes. And that's Stranger Things was a complete journey. So, I
Yeah.
agree with you there.
I mean, that's just the way sometimes shows start slow and they eventually blossom to something good. I mean, one of my favorite shows, Mindhunter, was a very slow start, and then you get hooked and you're just like into it. But that's what we watched this week. Let us know what you watched over at the show Pod on X, or in the YouTube comments, or at the Statistics Penguin Studios Facebook. Tone, let's go into some news, my friend, before we get into our main event tonight. Unfortunately, today, right before we signed on, a legend in Chicago radio, a person that inspired actually the way I do our show in terms of sound clips and little things like that, passed away by the name of Terry Boers. If you're not from Chicagoland area, Terry Boers was like a big guy at the Sun-Times. He used to cover the Bears, and then he eventually went into a radio station called 670 The Score, which is like our number 1 sports station in Chicago. ESPN also here, but usually local out, draws ESPN. And that station has not been the same since he retired in 2017. A true pioneer in the way he did radio. Hilarious guy. I read his book, A Score of a Lifetime. Once I picked it up, I couldn't put it down. I actually finished it in a day. Not really a long book, but it was so many interesting stories in there. From everybody I've heard from over the years, everybody loved him. He was hilarious. It's just real sad for him to go. And I think he was only in his early 70s when he passed, but he's been struggling with sickness for the past few years. Tone, do you have anything to say about Terry Boers?
A legend, as you stated. Honestly, a friend of mine kind of told me about 670 The Score in the early 2000s. I didn't really grow up in a house that listened to a lot of sports radio, so when I first heard it, him and he was one of the first people I heard, and he was awesome, dude. Really awesome. Like, from listening to those early, just a lot of knowledge. And just sad. And actually, I was shocked when I saw it because it was very shocking.
Yeah, it just kind of, I was doing something and happened to check my Facebook, and I saw David Schuster post it, who is also from The Score. Also a movie guy. We got to get him on here.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
But it's just sad. Legends from the past are going. But hopefully his memory, and I know his memory will be carried on. The dude was like such a big, impactful. He mentored so many people and producers that still are in radio or TV in some form or another. Just sucks. So shout out to Terry Boers, by Cracky, pouring out for him. I I just wanted to get the bad news out of the way before we went into this Oscar news that came in. Now, you know that if you follow the show, we do an Oscar episode every year where we go through nominees before the big show comes around and we give our picks and our ideas of who we think is going to win. So, Tone, the Oscars were actually announced Thursday morning. My goofy ass didn't sleep, so I actually watched it live while they were announcing it. I thought it was pretty cool the way they did it, even though it was behind a green screen, but it was still kind of cool. Were there any surprises that came out at you for any of the categories?
I guess I'm just really surprised in a great way, not in a way like, oh, I'm mad, but in an awesome way that the Sinners got as many nominations as it's picked up, which I really like that movie a lot. So it's like an awesome surprise. Like when you get too many Christmas presents under the tree, you're not like pissed. You're more like, wow, this is awesome. So that's kind of cool. How about you?
Yeah, Sinners surprised me with the 16 nominations. The thing that was really surprised me was one, the Golden Globes that I've watched and with Sam, not watched with him, but I was texting back and forth with him, and it was pretty crazy that the woman from One Battle After Another had won. Her name is Tiana Taylor, which she was great in the film. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the film,
and she's also in that The Rip, which is ironic that you bring her up. But go on.
That she got the win for Golden Globe because Amy Madigan, who's in Weapons, was getting so much buzz for the whole time that it surprised me. Now, I think Tiana Taylor, her screen time in One Battle After Another is a little less than Amy Madigan, but they're both very, very good. So it's interesting for me to see what's going to happen when the actual Oscar is announced. This actor in a supporting role is ridiculously like stacked. There, you got Benicio del Toro, Jacob Elordi, Delroy Lindo, who finally got a nomination. One of the most underrated actors that we've had out there for Sinners. You got Sean Penn for One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård, who's also up there too, which is just all phenomenal roles.
Loaded.
So it's gonna be interesting to see who wins. You also have like a loaded actors. You know, you got Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, which I have not seen. I still have to see that. Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another. You got Ethan Hawke, Michael B. Jordan, who I found out hated his name Michael Jordan because of Michael Jordan when he was a kid. And then you got Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent.
Good list here, and it's a lot of good movies too.
Yeah, so I am definitely going to finish up with my Oscar films and then give a more look into who I think's going to win when we make our list. But the Oscars actually, it looks like they pretty much nailed it on top of the head. You know who should be nominated this year.
To be fair, the last couple of years, not to say that our shows weren't banging with our Oscar picks, but the movies, just some of them were like, this is, as you stated, every movie is like bam, boom, bam. So it's going to be a good episode to go through.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Some of the movies were kind of out of it. You know, you had some great ones and some other. Yeah. Even like, you know, I love, you know, Amy Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, but that movie was like 3.5 hours long. Great movie. I won't watch it again. Yeah. But I actually enjoyed all these movies. I haven't seen Marty Supreme yet, which I sure I will love. And I am actually scheduled to watch the Frankenstein film probably tomorrow. But
okay.
I'm looking forward to all those the nominations and seeing how they go. If Playback was still around, we would have did a stream, but Playback's not around anymore. R.I.P. Playback.
That's sad.
Yeah. Do you got any news to bring up, my friend?
Have you by chance watched the new He-Man trailer this week?
No, I haven't. But is Jared Leto Skeletor?
He's Skeletor, but I mean, this is the trailers give Skeletor a couple quick glances, and Skeletor looks more like you can't tell it's Jared Leto. So that might be a good thing.
I'm just asking because I didn't know he was in the film. And I saw, but when I came out, like I hadn't watched it. I just see a bunch of people like on Facebook, like, "Why is Jared Leto a Skeletor? You ruined the Joker, now he's gonna ruin Skeletor." And I'm like, "What?"
I'm curious to see how a movie like this does, because to be fair to guys like us, yeah, you know, we're gonna go see it, but like to the younger crowd, do they know who He-Man is? Like, who is going to go out to this movie and spend 200-300 million is going to be pretty interesting. So I'm curious to see.
I hope it makes money.
Me too.
Do.
I would give it all. I'm giving it. I'm sure we're going to give it our money.
As bad as the original film was with Dolph Lundgren, I love that film. I was a big He-Man kid.
Me too.
You know, I had the He-Man sword, with that made sounds when you swung it. You know, I was a He-Man kid, along with the Ninja Turtles, of course, like most of the kids that were our age. But yeah, I loved that film. I still do. So I'm hoping it does well. I'll give it a chance. You know, see it at the theater, and I'll let you know how I really feel. But again, like you have to understand too. Us being us, we have to, and we don't usually go. We have to go in with a clean slate and just accept it for what it is. For anything we go see that is nostalgic to us. But I'm looking forward to it. What about the Avengers Doomsday? Have you thought those trailers were interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see the big picture. I'm always interested to see any big picture, when especially something with Downey Jr., but again, we've talked about it before. It's like, what are they going to be going for? And I don't really want to speak on it until I hear and see a little bit more, because you could go either way. You could be really excited, or you could start saying things along the lines of, "Oh, are they just bringing them back because they need them so they can make money?" You don't know. So I would like to see a little bit more. But the trailers look good. I mean, looks like it's peak Marvel. I mean,
yeah, the trailers do look very interesting. I think it's funny that Captain America is coming back, but I mean,
that's the point. I mean, like, is this going to be a good part in the story, or is this kind of like we need him back just because?
I would hope so. It'd be good. I mean, look at Hugh Jackman, who recently said he doesn't think he's done playing Wolverine, and he thought he was done after Logan. I guess Deadpool versus Wolverine kind of rejuvenized that love for playing that role, and he said he's open for more roles. So I'm assuming since they're bringing Patrick Stewart back as Professor Xavier, that Hugh Jackman has to be some part in this universe, which I think is going to be kind of cool of him finally being with the of other Avengers, because they are in the comics and in the cartoons. You have them with some of the Avengers, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So that's all our news for today. We didn't want to bore you with all of it, but we have a film that me and Tony both love, that we fell in love with from, I don't know, the first time I saw The Thing, man. I think it was on Channel 9. I watched a lot of late night movies on Channel 9, and I remember watching this in my house on Troop Street in my room. I distinctly remember just drawn to the special effects. It was on the part where the dog is in the kennel, and we'll get to that later in the breakdown, but it just drew me in from then on, and I couldn't stop watching what was going on in between commercials. I was thinking, like, what the hell is this? It was late at night too. I was always by myself watching this. Then I found out that guy who made Big Trouble in Little China directed it. I'm like, oh my god, it's even better. It just made me fall in love with the film. What about you? When was the first time you saw yourself watching that thing?
The very first time, right around young age, and just really, to me, one of the most scariest movies I've to this day still have ever seen. I always wanted the tattoo of the front box there with the light coming out of the winter coat, but it just really speaks volumes to really good directing. Kurt Russell is definitely at the top of his game, and so is the supporting cast. I mean, Wilford Brimley, the oatmeal guy, great job. Yes.
Have you seen the Wilford Brimley AI videos?
Some of them, yes, I have.
He's a wrestler and he's fighting diabetes. So my God, it's so great.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many actors in here that are unknown that it just kind of draws everything together, and I really love the film for it. So you kind of see how we feel about this. But Tom, let's just go straight into this, man. Let's go into the development of this film.
All right.
In my thoughts, I use the technique of positive visualization.
So the film was based on a 1938 novella named Who Goes There by John W. Campbell Jr. It was first published in Astounding Science Fiction magazine and introduced the core concept that an alien organism capable of perfectly imitating other life forms caused paranoia and distrust within an isolated group. Novella had already been adapted once in 1951's The Thing from Another World, and we did show a couple clips from that when we did our sci-fi films in one of our earlier episodes last year. That version downplayed the paranoia, though, and turned the creature into more of a conventional, like, movie monster, I would say. That was more of a... I would say he was more of the Universal monster kind of way.
Mhm.
But it was still cool.
Yeah.
And if it more was, like, focused on Cold War themes and, like, military stuff than it was anything else than scientific. So people are wondering, why did they revisit this film? Well, by the late 1970s, studios were more open to darker and more cynical sci-fi films. You had Alien coming out in the late 70s that probably pushed this to be made also with Ridley Scott. And with that coming out with No One Can Hear You Scream in the Dark, I'm sure when this film was floating around, people were like, oh, let's get this film going on. And of course, when the Aliens made money, and when Alien made money talks to a lot of studios. So they're like, you know what? Let's do a more faithful adaptation of the film. And that's what Universal Studios wanted. They wanted to be emphasis on isolation, identity paranoia, and existential dread. This version intentionally removed heroic certainty. So they wanted to remove all that. They avoided traditional monster versus hero structures. And they kind of focused on psychological collapse. So when they were looking at this script, they were looking at particularly one guy. And that person was the legendary John Carpenter. Reason being, he had just delivered Halloween in 1978, The Fog in 1980, and Escape from New York in 1981. That's a hell of a three-peat there, man.
That's a murder's row.
Yeah. They saw Carpenter as a director who could blend atmosphere, suspense, and minimalism, which he does in all three of those films. Great. Someone capable of maintaining tension without exposition. Carpenter was known to physically and will personally be drawn to the paranoid aspect of the story, which got him into it. The idea that no character is safe or trustworthy really, kind of sold it to him. There were no other major directors that were really formally attached. Reasons being is that they wanted to use a director that they felt was, one, going to make them money, and two, kind of had an understanding for what they wanted. And they felt that that person was only Carpenter, so they didn't really offer it to anybody else. And again, he accepted it because he saw it as a great follow-up to Halloween, something different, the distrust of safety. And this was a bigger budget. Halloween, again, not a lot of people know, was made on a very small budget that became a big hit. And he was eager to do a straight horror film after he did Escape from New York. So when the studio project was pitched, early discussions involved multiple studios hesitant about it because the gore, the tone, and the lack of traditional hero. And when it was the other studios that passed it before Universal got it, they thought the creature budget was going to be too high. The story lacked romantic or uplifting elements. That's kind of crazy. He turned down a story because it doesn't have any romance in it.
No romance.
Like, that just shows you how the 80s were. And then the marketing concerns. How are you going to market it? Because it's unknown actors. Universal, of course, picked that up because they owned the rights in 1951. They wanted to monetize the IP, and they believed, again, Carpenter could make them some money to offset the risk. They approved a budget of $15 million, and a significant portion was allocated to the practical effects, the creature design, and extended shooting effects that were scheduled. When they went to casting, Carpenter deliberately avoided big movie stars. He wanted a youth-driven cast. His goal was to make sure that actors looked like real scientists and pilots. He wanted a cast where anybody could plausibly be the Thing. He didn't want them to stick out like a sore thumb. Although Keith David kind of does stick out like a sore thumb. It's Keith David, man. The all-male cast reflects the novel, and it reinforces emotional isolation with a lack of romantic subplots. So the romance stuff, that was dead. He eventually went with Kurt Russell for R.J. McCready, Wilford Brimley for Dr. Blair, Keith David for Childs, Donald Moffat for Gary, Richard Dysart for Dr. Cooper, Charles Hallahan for Norris, David Cleenan for Palmer, Richard Mazer for Clark, Richard Mazer coming up in there, T.K. Carter for Knowles, and I believe T.K. Carter just passed.
He sure did last week.
Yeah, R.I.P. T.K. Carter. Joel Polis for Fudge, Thomas G. Waits for Windows, Peter Maloney for Bennings, and Larry J. Franco for the Norwegian helicopter pilot. Actors that were considered for the roles: Kurt Russell, he was automatically in there because Carpenter personally wanted him, and he wanted to subvert Russell's heroic image. McCready is capable but emotionally distant, and he always thought there's nobody that could play that but Kurt Russell. Also, you got to remember too, Kurt Russell is just in Escape from New York. Kurt Russell is John Carpenter's guy. He will later go on to star in Big Trouble in Little China after this, which I think is awesome. That, of course, our guy directed. Wilford Brimley was cast to be the project authority and trust. He later transformation to Paranoia was a key to the story. Kind of a seasoned actor who was kind of well known, but not superly well known, to kind of round out those young actors. Thomas G. Waits, which I thought was very interesting. He famously clashed with Carpenter on the set. Carpenter reportedly fired him mid-production. Then I guess they kind of buried the hatchet, and he was rehired.
You know what's funny about that is just this week I was watching, which is a really he's not a nice guy. It really is Chevy Chase in parts. There's a new documentary about him. But that being said, I forgot that he worked with John Carpenter on Memoirs of the Invisible Man. And Carpenter literally out of his own mouth was like, worst person I've ever worked with. So you don't want to piss Carpenter off. It seems like he's going to tell you the way it is.
I love Carpenter.
Yeah, he's just great.
But this kind of reminded me when Waits was fired. It kind of reminded me of the Warriors when we did the Warriors deep dive, and the character of Fox. Fox was never originally supposed to die in the Warriors. He's actually supposed to end up with the girl that Swan ends up with, Mercy. But he clashed with the director so much that he killed him off. He just fired him and killed him off.
Clashing with the director ain't a good thing.
Yeah. So Thomas G. Waits, man. So there was no major A-list stars that declined any roles because many were passed up. One, because Carpenter didn't want them. Two, they didn't want to be in heavy makeup. They hated cold weather. Like, who would want to do that? And limited screen time. So a lot of big stars was like, I don't want to do this. And it was more better for Carpenter because he didn't want them anyway.
Sure.
For special effects, we have the lead effects artist Rob Bottin. Or Boatin. I hope I spelled say his name right. He was only 22 years old at the time.
Impressive.
He was chosen because he had experimental mindset, his willingness to push grotesque imagery, and goddamn did he push it really hard in this film. Carpenter gave Bolton total control of creative freedom, which I thought was awesome, and he put minimal restrictions on creature design. That's like a artist's dream when it comes to directing. If you have a director that just basically lets you run with your imagination, that's the best thing for you, because it shows your creative input, like what you love doing. And I think as a person, you put more passion and love into it because you're like, this is my baby now. This is not what his dream. This is my vision.
Yeah.
And you want to make it look as good as possible. So for the design philosophy was, it was never given a single true form. Each transformation suggested a creature still figuring out biology, so it was still learning, and it emphasized wrongness and imperfection. Its inspirations included body horror, cancer imagery, which I thought was pretty crazy, insects, of course, and you can see that in the film, as well as Lovecraftian shapelessness, which is totally like Kalula, from Lovecraft, is totally there. The techniques used for it were animatronics, foam latex, gelatin, slime compounds, verse photography, puppeteering rigs, and fire effects combined with mechanical elements. Some of the challenges he faced, though, were Bottin worked a lot of hours. He often slept in the effects studio. He suffered from physical exhaustion. He was hospitalized from stress and pneumonia, which, I mean, the pneumonia probably was from the cold, and then probably overtiredness kind of, played into that effect of being there for so long, your immune system's got to drop, right?
Yeah, not good.
Stan Winston was brought in late to assist with specific effects, the dog thing, which he helped out with. And then the effects shots frequently delayed production, required constant redesign during filming, which is, kind of, I guess, warranted because he is making his own thing. So, the director has to work around it. And sometimes the shot might not fit what Botten had brought out. So Carpenter had to basically, shoot from the cuff on it. Or as, what's his name? Conrad Thompson would say, he had the freestyle. Tom, why don't you tell us about the soundtrack, my man?
Soundtrack, really, really good. Composed by Ennio Morricone. He is a legendary Italian composer known for some of the greatest Western soundtracks of all time, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Once Upon a Time in the West. He was chosen despite Carpenter usually doing his own films, which was kind of cool that Carpenter was cool with that. But the music itself, to me, in the movie is something that I always think of and remember. It's in so many parts. It fits so well. But why was Morricone chosen? Because Universal wanted somebody more prestigious with a musical name. Carpenter wanted a minimalist, oppressive score, which I think was success. Morricone delivered low frequency, heartbeat like rhythms. I think of it especially at the end of the film. Sparse melodies emphasizing dread over emotion. But the score itself is definitely cool in its use of really heavy synth bass pulses, a lot of repetitive rhythms, minimal orchestration. Music is often functions in the whole entire film as a tension amplifier rather than a melodic guide, which I thought was really cool, the way that was showcased throughout the whole film. The cues, though, throughout it are motionless, mechanical, and cold. So, unlike something maybe like James Bond, where it's really kind of creepy. It's because I believe it fits excellently to actually what the creature is. It sneaks up on you and you don't know it's there, and then next thing you know, it overtakes you. But the unused music, Carpenter ultimately only used a portion of Morricone's score. Some tracks are replaced with Carpenter's composed synth pieces, which is definitely, you can tell that as you start digging through the film. You can see what is being used a little bit and what is not. It's kind of a fun little game you can play. But Morricone won a BAFTA for the score, which I thought was really, really awesome.
Yeah, and like you said, one of the greatest composers ever.
Yeah.
So basically, the summary of this whole creative intent was for the thing to be a nihilistic horror experience, and they wanted a film where a survivor offers no relief. Meaning, you have to survive, but just because you survive doesn't mean you're going to get away or you're going to live from the thing or in the elements. Every production choice reinforced paranoia, isolation, and loss of identity. Its initial failure had nothing to do with quality, only timing. So that is our development breakdown of the thing. Let's go into our film breakdown, Tone.
Let's do it.
See the arc? He starts down here. He ends up here. Where's my arc, Paulie?
So normally what we would do is we would go through the whole film with the beginning, middle, and ending, and me talking and Tony going through that whole thing. That gets me a little bit winded. So, Tone, I went with probably the 10 best scenes that kind of, foreshadow and kind of display a little bit what's going on in the film. So the listener can experience it, not just through our scenes as well as, if they want to go into the film, watch the whole film themselves.
Heck yeah.
So with that, my friend, excuse my voice is cracking. I was drinking some Abuelita hot chocolate. With that, my friend, let's go into this first scene that I picked. And it's actually an opening scene. And that is the opening chase of the Norwegian helicopter and the dog. Now, the film opens with basically this dog running through the, Antarctic snow, and you see this helicopter chasing it kind of. And at first, when you first see it, you're like, what's going on here? Is a dog chasing, hunting something? And then you see the guy pull out a sniper rifle and try to shoot it. So he's pursuing the dog across the Atlantic ice. And the guy's like shooting and like throwing grenades at the dog, and the dog's just getting away. And you see the scientist, at another base just looking at what the hell is going on over here. The guy drops to the floor after missing as the dog runs into safety with the scientist. And like, he screams something in Norwegian or Swedish. And then eventually his helicopter blows up and he ends up dying. Now, why is this important? Because it totally sets the tone for the whole movie. It sets mystery. Like, what the hell is going on here? Why is he chasing this dog? Did the dog eat one of his? I don't know. When I first saw it, when I started watching it, I was like, did the dog like eat one of his his animals that he had in his base, or what the hell's going on here? You don't think, like, even though you kind of know what the film's about going later after you read about it, but I experienced it like never seen it before. And I was like, why is this guy chasing this dog? It just you drop into chaos without explanation. It's that you get paranoia again. Like, you don't know what the hell this guy's saying before the thing blows up and he dies. And you feel bad for your dog, man. Like, how'd you feel about this?
It's everything. Like you just said, you're confused because here's this dog running. When I'm first seeing this movie, I love dogs. So why is this guy shooting at a dog? And then you also are saying just the whole locale of the movie in the snow. Okay. Because the people, as they're shooting, everyone looks confused too. So not only are they shooting at the dog, but nobody really knows why the helicopter is landing there, and everyone just has this like confused. And then the dog just kind of like takes off, you know what I mean, past everybody. And nobody on, the side with Kurt Russell, the Americans are like, get the dog. They're just like, he's just a dog. What's that? We're all good here. And I think right there is also, as you watch the movie, is where they let their guard down just that little bit right there, and that's what sunk them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the Norwegian dialogue is unsubtitled on purpose, of course, because Carpenter wanted people not to know what he was saying, to structurally put that the act of unknowing. He wanted confusion there, and the scene mirrors Jaws. The monster is present, but you can't see it. Now, being a movie nerd, we were movie nerds. Somebody did actually put on subtitles on the Norwegian, and he's actually saying, "No, not the dog. Don't go by the dog," is what he's screaming before he dies. Which I was like, "Oh, holy crap!" That's I actually watched that scene again today when I was grabbing clips for this, which and it's still like, holy shit! If one of them actually spoke Norwegian, they would have killed that dog, and then it would have been okay.
Yeah, they're just like, bro, what?
But it's just a crazy way to open a film. You just see this guy shooting at a dog, and you're like, what the hell's going on here, man?
I would say it's definitely not something usually you see at the beginning of a movie. Even something like Alien doesn't start with somebody shooting at a dog.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a dog lover.
Yeah. Can't do that.
And then, we go into the second scene here, which is the dog basically entering the outpost, and he goes from room to room. He watches as a helicopter lands, which I thought was kind of weird, how he was just looking out the window as the helicopter lands. And he's going from room to room. He stops and he looks, I believe, I think it's Benning's room, right? He stops and watches him.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just weird because the sled dog's brought to the base, it wanders around calmly, but you can kind of see, like, it's kind of like studying the area. It doesn't seem like a normal, to me, it doesn't seem like a normal dog that would be curious. It seems like it's calculating. And you when you think about it, was it choosing its victims? Like,
I mean, it's building its dossier of who it's going to get and who's the ones that will be the most beneficial for it, because that's the whole thing. It's how can it survive in this environment, because it's been actually how long has it been dormant out there in the snow? You know what I mean? So now it's definitely, since it's gotten a hold of one person, it's kind of interesting, because if you close your eyes and really think about it, how far can this thing really take it if it was allowed to be able to take over?
Yeah, and the audience again knows nothing before the characters do. Well, they know something's wrong, but the characters don't know what the hell's going on. The dog becomes like a Trojan horse for the film, and again, it creates like dread, like stillness of action. Like I said, it's doesn't seem like it's acting like a normal animal would. It's cool
Even
thing.
in that scene you played right there, you have the shadow of him
Mhm.
before the dog walks in. I think that's just a really awesomely filmed. Yeah, right there, and you see like his head on the wall. I always thought that was creepy in a way, because like you said, he's hunting victims pretty much at this point. But you love dogs, so you're like, nah, is he? He's not a dog. He's not anybody.
And just some trivia about this: the dog's name was Jed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was highly trained and extremely calm. Scenes were shot multiple times because Jed was too well behaved.
Jed.
And Carpenter intentionally holds on long takes to make viewers uneasy. That's his style. But I just thought it was hilarious. His name was Jed.
I like it.
But finishing up our dog here, this is probably a scene that was like, when I was a kid, I was like, holy shit. And that's the kennel transformation. Basically, the dog is put in a kennel with other dogs, and other dogs are trying to get the hell out of the kennel. They're trying to rip through, and eventually the dog starts to mutate in like grotesque ways. He becomes like it was like tentacles start spawning out of him, and the other dogs are basically absorbed into it. This is the first reveal of what the thing is, and man, it is ridiculous, Tone.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, when I lived in Riverdale, we had a basement where it was like a real basement, real far into the basement. And this is where I watched this movie the first time. And even thinking about it, that dog scene, man, it got me, because it was dogs, back to the dogs. I love dogs, but the way it is filmed, to me, it didn't look fake. It looked super real. And not only did it look real, but what is going on? Like, what is really happening in this kennel? And then Richard Mazer, too, because he's obviously a dog lover. His response to all of it, too, was like, no! It was just a lot going on. It was really cool. It was also really cool FX in that scene, too.
Yeah, and the part that always got me was when he's screaming, and then he tries to go in, and it tries to go after him, and he slams the gate on the tentacle. Like, there's suspense there, like it almost got him. And then he goes, of course, and gets to McCready and all them. The visuals are just ridiculously good body horror, practical effects too. And in 1982, something audience has never seen anything like it, which is ridiculous. The effects were done with puppetry, foam latex, slime, and animatronics. Stan Winston assisted quietly due to Rob Bottin's overload, as we explained earlier. The creature was operated from below with trap doors, and the scene took weeks to shoot. Which I think is pretty crazy.
Very crazy.
So once they killed that creature, we get old Wilford Brimley coming out there, and he's going to do an autopsy of this dog.
What we're talking about here is an organism that imitates other life forms, and it imitates them perfectly. When this thing attacked our dogs, it tried to digest them, absorb them.
Diabetes. I love that scene because, for one, I think he has a perfect voice for the explanation. And two, even knowing that this is a film, even knowing that what he's pointing at is fake, it looks badass with the goo spilling off it. The part when he's going over and touching it with his pen to show, the specific parts. This is not dog. This is a adaptation. He's trying to imitate. That whole scene is ridiculous. And the way they carry it into that room, and they get it out of the ice block and they bring it over to that room to be examined, is just ridiculous. What do you think about that whole scene?
Wilford Brimley is one of my favorites in the movie. There's a line in the movie that is one of my favorites that my dad used to say a lot. It's when they're when he's got the gun and they're all grabbing him and they're trying to like take it from him, and you hear Wilford Brimley go, "I'll kill you." Just the way his voice sounds in this whole entire movie is peak. I think he does a good job as the science, is like trying to get through to these people what's really going on, but he also goes mad, which is kind of cool with the character.
Yeah, and this scene, the autonomy shows how impossible it's like the cellular behavior of the thing. It shifts the film from monster horror to science fiction horror.
Mhm.
There, it introduces the idea that the thing copies at a cellular level, and then this shows Blair, who Wilford Brimley's character, he starts to get obsessed with this. Um, Again, the effects use gelatin, rubber organs, and air bladders. Wilford Brimley plays a scene with clinical calm to his heightened dread. And Carpenter uses wide framing to keep characters emotionally distant, which I thought is really, really done well. As is Brimley's the center of the shot with the dog, and you can see the other characters are surrounding him, but they're not close. Like they don't want to get close to the actual thing. Which, in reality, would you like
No.
as a normal person, even though if you're a scientist, you wouldn't want to get close to that damn thing.
I give these guys a lot of mad credit because, like, in today's world, I don't even know if anyone would even have been researching that dog. You know what I mean? Like, they'd just be trying to get the hell out of there. When it's interesting that they still were so committed to what the hell's we're here. Let's figure out what's really going on. It's interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And playing on from this as we just playing, like Blair kind of gets obsessed with this thing, the thing, and it goes into our next scene.
Love the technology.
So if you're not watching, I just show the clip from the film, and it's computer graphics, and they are very, very outdated. But the computer graphics were cutting edge for the time. This is 1982, people. So this scene, Blair's running a simulation. He's showing how the thing could assimilate to all life. This basically shows him that it can assimilate to everything. And as the thing's cells are taking over the other cells and absorbing them, he becomes batshit like scared. He doesn't become crazy. He becomes, to my thing, everybody says, "Oh, Blair goes nuts." I don't think Blair went nuts. I think Blair basically realized that they have to contain this thing, which is why he destroys the radio helicopters and kills the dogs, the other living dogs, because he doesn't want it to escape, because he knows this thing can, if it gets out, God knows what's going to happen. And, it establishes global stakes because that's what he's thinking. And it shows that he's both a prophet and a threat, I guess. And then, what's actually going to happen? It kind of reinforces that theory. Tone, what'd you think about it? Did you think Blair was, going crazy, or did you think in more of a rational way like I thought?
Well, I think he starts off as, at this point, he's still rational. He isn't crazy until, somewhere when he's out there in the shed and he's been sitting out there for a long time. I think he finally snaps because nobody listened to him, not because he's literally crazy, but because he actually had all the information. And if they would have just listened to him, he was another aspect to say, okay, we could rid this, but that's they didn't do that.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Kind of like I guess he would be an anti-hero to this film.
It could be. Yeah.
Brimley improvised some of Blair's agitation, which you could totally tell. he didn't have too much sugar that day. And then like I said, Carpenter wanted Blair to feel rational, not crazy. And I think that Wilford Brimley actually really showed that in his acting, his portrayal, because I thought, like I said, I thought he was being more rational than crazy because he was scared.
Do you find it crazy he was only like 47 in that movie?
Oh, bro, he was in Cocoon, and like
I know, he's like 50
I thought he was
maybe?
like 90 in that
I
film.
know that.
He's also in The Firm. He plays
He's
a
great.
hitman.
He's great in The
Which
Firm.
I'm like, when I first saw him in The Firm, I'm like, this dude's like 90. How's he killing people?
You got Tobin Bell running around with him too. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Wilford Brimley's awesome.
It is awesome.
So, as Blair does all this, we then start to see the meteor pieces of the film, and we go into another really, really cool special effects part of the film when they find Bennings, and he shows that he's not all he's cracked up to be. That scene scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
It gets me still to this day.
And now that I think about it, it's like, is that the way the thing can communicate because it doesn't know language?
Well, for movies, every movie, even a movie like this, I try to put it as like, I'm there. Like, it's us. Let's just imagine it's us. It's the bums. It's the ass cast. And everyone's getting taken down by the thing. And, you go outside and here's a guy who we were just cracking jokes inside. And now next thing you know, he's been overtaken by the thing. It's like, so, and now you got to take him out when they set him on blaze. And that's what's kind of cool too, is that like some of these scenes, like that scene especially, some of the scenes are they're kind of in the old thing too, different versions of the scene, but it's kind of cool, some mimicking there. But just that scene with those hands he has too, really awesome.
Yeah, ridiculous parts of the film that, like I said, that part scared the shit out of me as a kid. And I don't really get too scared. I watched a lot of horror movies. That part was just the scream is what always got me. And of course I was watching it alone in my house, so that kind of got me. But hold on 1 second. I'm getting a issue here I guess we're having an issue on Facebook stream. So sorry about that, Facebook, but if you're on YouTube, you're all good. So Bennings is found to be absorbed by the thing, and like you said, they were joking with them, and they go out, and he just turns into this horrible monster. The scream he emits is inhuman before being buried alive. Again, it shows that it's a progress, the assimilation. It's not instant. So while they were joking with them, he was basically being assimilated.
Well, it's kind of like, again, it's like, it reminds me a lot of like a werewolf in Monster Squad. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take, like, he doesn't turn your back and or American Werewolf in London. You catch them in their transformation, you can get them. You know what I mean? Like, but like they got him there, but he had already got to somebody else.
Yeah, and it's just crazy how it happens. It confirms that no one is safe, even off screen. Again, the scream is deeply unsettling. It was layered with animal and human sounds, and they did a good job with it. The glowing hands were achieved with internal lighting rigs. Carpenter cuts away to avoid overexposure of the effect, and I thought he did that really, really well. You see it, and then you're like, holy shit, what was that? And then they burned the hell out of him, which I thought was really, really done. And that's why I think Carpenter, like, is the master of horror. Like, he can play it so well. Like, there's nobody better. I'm sorry, there just isn't. He might have had some clunkers in films, but in terms of like knowing how to shoot horror, Carpenter is like, he's the bee's knees.
I mean, in the way the movie's filmed, it's like back to Mel Brooks again. Like, you can say this movie is a horror movie, sci-fi movie, super scary. It's all of those, but it's also an excellent, just a film directed by an excellent director. And as all these scenes you played so far, none of them feel like cheesy or dated, or they just feel perfect for a good movie.
Yeah, just ridiculous. And this paranoia plays into more to where they do this next scene. And that's the blood test scene, man. It's awesome.
Love that scene.
So what happens is McCready's testing blood samples with a heated wire. They somehow find that with heated wires and your blood, they can find out if you're assimilating or you're actually a real human. Now, I can't remember, was it Blair that tells them this, or I forget how they find this out?
About the blood?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when they were all in there and they had to, it was something that he came up with, which is also kind of crazy that you came up with it that quickly on the fly in there, that you can do this kind of testing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, then again, they are scientists, so I guess we're supposed to.
That's true too. thing. Though.
But Palmer's blood reacts violently, revealing him as a thing. And the funny thing is, McCready is talking shit to what's his name while he's sitting there. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about, Tone.
The president from Clear Present Danger. The old guy, the police, the captain, right? And then
he's talking shit to
off me.
Yeah. Is it Dr. Cooper?
Or
is it Norris? It's one of those two.
I think it's Norris. Go back.
Yeah, he's talking shit to him, and they're like arguing, and he's like, "You think that guy is the guy? Like he doesn't want to be tested because he's the thing." And then it happens to it's Palmer, and Palmer's just sitting there normal, and then he starts convulsing, and you're like, "Holy shit!" And that's when a whole bunch of crazy stuff happens, which we are going to get to. But it's pure suspense. Like your dialogue is driven and timing is awesome. Again, paranoia is put in there really, really bad. And it's one of the most tension-filled scenes in horror cinema. Even the blood testing when it pops up like that is crazy.
You're sitting there and he's telling you, I mean, the audience, Carpenter's telling you, is that we're going to do this test in front of you, the audience right now, and something's going to go off because you got all the suspects right there, and you just saw the guy out there. So if they would have went through everybody and nothing happened, it would have been so lame. So just doing the test, someone's going to get be the thing.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, Carpenter intentionally plays silence against sudden shock, which you would see in the Halloween film. He does that a lot. But the actors didn't know which blood would react, so their reaction is genuine, which I thought was crazy. The blood reaction was done with a spring-loaded prosthetic, and you kind of see it pop up like a little eyeball just pops out, which I thought was kind of cool.
And then he kills Mazer or whatever.
Yeah,
he's like, and then they test him, and Mazer was okay. So they're like, well, what circumstance?
They probably were going to eat him anyway. But yeah, it's just that part was just awesome. Like, cause that kind of puts in like, again, you don't know who is who.
Yeah,
it's going through this thing where who is the real thing and who isn't, and then that plays into this next clip, which again I keep saying as a kid I was like, holy shit! This is another one I was like, holy shit, what is going on here? Which I think is awesome effects done. Yeah, that too. Norris was. It wasn't Norris. I think it was Dr. Cooper. But Norris' chest opens. He appears to suffer a heart attack. They throw him on the table. They give him mouth to mouth, and they're like, the guy is trying to. Cooper is actually the one that's giving him restoration, trying to get him up. And he's like, give me the electrical shock so I can get his heart starting. They give it to him, and right when he's about to do it, his stomach opens up like a mouth. And just basically rips off his fucking arms, dude.
Like Jaws, man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The visual is ridiculous. I'll even play it one more time so you can see it. Oh. The best part is like the other this guy's arms are getting ripped off, his hands. And if you notice in that scene as it fades out, everybody's just kind of looking like, holy shit.
Let's do it one more time.
So everybody's kind of just like staring like, what the hell is happening? Which I always thought was hilarious.
That was great, man. I love that stuff.
Yeah. So this is probably one of the best practical effects we've ever seen. This next scene that we're going to go over plays into with Norris, but this is probably the most famous body horror moment ever filmed. It violates every expectation of medical safety. It turns the human body into a weapon, which I thought was awesome. So the way they did this, Tone, was they used a real double amputee actor for realism.
Wow.
The arms were wax, rubber, and gelatin.
Wow.
Which I thought was crazy. The fire effects accidentally ignited a creature during filming. So they actually burned him on accident. But as they're firing this up, Norris's head escapes and it turns into this grotesque thing. Now, I'm not going to show the whole thing because it's a very long scene and we might get copyrighted. But this is a part for our ninth, little scene, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, as they're burning and trying to put out the fire, Norse's head basically spawns tentacles and legs. I love.
I think go on. What are you saying?
I'm sorry, my wife interrupted me. But it goes off with some tentacles and legs. It crawls away. They're burning the body, and MacReady burns it with a flamethrower. It's just crazy. And this scene was mimicked in so many other films. I mean, in It Chapter 2, they played homage to it with the head of Stan.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in the book, but they pay homage to it in the film with Stan's head turning into basically this spider creature running around. And it's absurd, but it's fucking scary. And it shows that the thing is not only smart, but it has a survival instinct. And it has one of the best quotes. You gotta be fucking kidding me.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a great quote. And what's this? No, you never showed her the thing? Come on.
Dude, she won't watch scary movies. And she says, I love on the thing when somebody buys some Funkos on eBay and slay the box.
That made me laugh.
Oh my God. Yeah, my box is in the background. It's actually cleaner back there. I had to make room for the sticker business. This scene was a combined puppetry and motion animation. Carpenter trimmed the slow stop motion because it felt too visible. And then the eyeballs were rigged on stalks using radio controls, which I thought was pretty cool. This film is just like, if you're a practical effects nerd like me, it's like the best thing ever.
I think it's just really, 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 again, more original.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Alien, again, they have their own things that were original, but this was also original for what it was doing.
Yeah. So the next scene we're going to do is actually the ending. So if you haven't seen this film, it's been out for 44 years. So I'm sorry. We're going to spoil the ending. But we got 2 clips here. We're going to go with the ending here.
Yeah, fuck you too!
As MacReady throws a flare into the thing as it's in its final form. Now, I didn't show the whole final form because you guys got to see that for yourself, but it's fucking awesome. And he blows it up and in turn blows up his shelter. So he is basically left out in the, cold. And again, this kind of puts him out as a person who is, he survived, but survive what? Like, he's out in the cold by himself now, and all of a sudden my man Childs comes back and they have a little chat.
If you're worried about me,
If we've got any surprises for each other, I don't think we're in much shape to do anything about it.
Basically, they're sitting there drinking as Childs says that he ran after Blair.
Where were you, Childs?
Yeah, he ran after Blair and he got caught in the storm. This film basically ends in ambiguity. It does the Stranger Things ending, but a better Stranger Things ending. Why is it iconic? Because it refuses to close. It refuses to give you closure, man. Trust is impossible. Who was who? It leaves, like I said, survival is meaningless in it. And Carpenter deliberately avoided confirming who was human. He still doesn't do so to this day. The breath theory, which is condension visibility, was not intentional. Morricone's heartbeat theme underscores the uncertainty. And the ending mirrors the novel's essential tone. Tone, what did you think about the final confrontation and the ending, man?
Final confrontation was awesome. The ending, I think, is even more awesome than the final confrontation. The way they're sitting out there in the cold and they're pretty much telling each other, well, I guess we're just going to have to sit here and wait it out now, aren't we? And it's interesting because as the ambiguity ends, you get to mentally plug in what actually happens. Do they sit there and freeze to death? Does this happen because the thing just sat in that ship for how long, frozen? It can sit again and wait until someone finds them again, because this will be a lot shorter, because once they find nobody's radioing back, all it takes is somebody coming to fly in, and now it's taken over again, which really always opened the door for an awesome sequel, I felt.
Yeah, so did I. Fortunately, there was prequels.
Yeah.
But I was going to mention something, but let's go. I'll mention it in Act 3 or the Part 3 of the critical theories and critical reception of fan theories.
You know that fat cocksucker says I look like the Shah of Iran?
Who does? Tony. I never got that at all.
So as I mentioned, the final reported production budget was around $15 million. Sometimes you'll see different costs and numbers because some breakdowns distinguish between direct production costs like principal photography or effects and cast and crew, and overhead and indirect costs like studio overhead, insurance, post-production overrun, stuff like that. The distinction can result in a lower financial cost figure appearing alongside a higher advertised budget, conflicting numbers, depending on reporting methodology. So we'll just run with the $15 million. For the theatrical release, domestic US and Canada, it grossed around $19 million. And the cited original run. Another widely referenced domestic figure is around $14.8 million. Internationally, it only made $700,000. Worldwide, though, the film will gross $15.6 million. And again, there's total conflict depending on the source because of territory coverage, inclusion of limited international markets, whether it was later releases were counted or not, and then the reporting sucked in the 80s for international gross. Regardless of what the figures say, the thing was not a breakout hit in 82. It performed okay due to its budget, and it was widely viewed as a commercial disappointment. What do you think about that, Tom?
It happened a lot more back then, but it was called, it developed into a cult classic. So it's almost like I'll take the cult classic over some big, huge movie thing, because if you really think about it, people talk this movie up. You don't meet many people who say, if you like movies, and even more if you like sci-fi or horror, I've never heard of the thing. It's not obscure. So it obviously hit its bells. It just didn't do it at the beginning.
Yeah, and part of that is because of the home video and watch at home performance. Early home video release, the film entered the home market in 1983. Early exposure, of course, came through VHS rentals. People used to go to video stores to rent. Yes, we are that old. And cable television airings. This period marked the beginning of the cult reevaluation. From Blu-ray and retail performance, of course, this is included with the VHS. Over time, the film has accumulated hundreds of thousands of Blu-ray units sold, estimated cumulative sales in 785,000 unit range, and they spent around $9.5 million from it. So it was the performance of it was boosted in Blu-ray by restored editions. They released those collector sets, which I have one, and they have special features and commentaries. Movie nerds and cinephiles love that shit because they want to find out as much as they can about this. So what does it mean? In practical terms, it evolved into a long tail title. It went from reselling cross formats from VHS all the way to boutique editions. And this made it a strong appeal to collectors. And due to this, it became a critical reappraisal. Its evaluation from box office to disappointment to generic classic, like Tony said, it became a cult classic. And it continued relevance decades after its release, which it's been 44 years, and we're still talking about it.
I find it also interesting because that year, its sci-fi competition was Poltergeist, Wrath of Khan, Mad Max 2, Conan the Barbarian, Tron. So it didn't really have a fair chance if it was in another year with less sci-fi movies. It definitely would have even hit that first mark probably too.
Yeah, that was
a Murder's Row.
Yeah. In terms of reviews, here are the negative reviews, and I thought this was pretty crazy. this is especially at the release. Roger Ebert in 1982 gave it a mixed to negative review. A quote from that saying, "The thing is basically then just a geek show, a gross out movie." He was acknowledging the craft and the scares, but arguing the film prioritizes effects and gross out shocks over character investment. And he was dead wrong. I love Ebert, and between the two of Ebert and Siskel, Ebert usually gave more love to horror films than Siskel, but he totally missed the mark on this one, in my opinion. Vincent Canby, the New York Times in 1982, had a sharply negative review saying, "Virtually storyless, instant junk, and the quintessential moron movie." The reason why this hurt the film is because that guy was a mainstream critic from The New Yorker, and that made people not want to watch it.
That was stupid.
So what the hell is he watching?
Stupid.
And common at the time complaint pattern, critics often singled out the film as bleak, nihilistic, viscerally repulsive. They didn't like the way it looked. Technically impressive, but emotionally remote. Which I don't think they kind of grasped the love of it.
No. I mean, when you really think about it, they didn't grasp, really, it seems to be any of the points. I mean, when you're taking place in the very cold place, what else are you going to get but bleak?
But our man Roger Ebert does come around. I don't know if it was Roger Ebert. It might have just been RogerEbert.com, because I think Ebert was dead by then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is just Ebert.com. So it wasn't him, but his website. His website gave it a reevaluation, as this is one of the greatest and most elegantly constructed B movies ever made. Which, to formally precise, thermically rich paranoia machine is what it moved to, from being gross and empty and cynical, which I thought was pretty crazy. Time does heal all wounds, I guess.
That's at times, yes.
And then for the soundtrack, Pitchfork Review said the score is treated as a key component of the film's eerie identity and its long-term staying power, especially the minimal pulse and tension-forward cues. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would say definitely that is one of the. I mean, there's a lot of strengths, but has to be a top 3 strength of the film.
So, what did the film kind of put its place in pop culture? This is with no fan theories, so we will get to those in a minute. Had the paranoia template. The Thing becomes a go-to reference point for stories built around a hidden infiltrator, identity uncertainty, anyone can be it, group fracture under isolation and fear. And this makes you think of I See You, because it's kind of based in the same kind of premise, I guess, not with a monster, but with a serial killer.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just watched this new movie. It was on Hulu. It's kind of a sci-fi horror movie called Ash, and Aaron Paul was in it, but it's the same concept. An alien overtakes, I mean, a body. I mean, even the movie The Hidden, which I love, I mean, you're just taking the thing. And so the thing has spawned so many of these same type of stories, but it's because of the thing,
Yeah, and even outside of horror circles, the blood test and dog transformation are used as memes, clip references, and this moment, everything breaks examples in filmmaking discussions, which I've seen so many memes on the blood test and the dog transformation. They're pretty hilarious. Again, the afterlife was amplified by repeated screenings, restorations, high-end physical media editions. Again, those cinephiles love to get those collections, and it keeps it evergreen as a must-own, must-see. John Ratayo. Practical effects are as permanent in how they do that benchmark. Again, peak of practical body horror. Tom Savini to me is always like the best of the best in terms of practical effects. I think creature design. This film was better than Savini.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was really, 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 really good.
And with the world today with so much CGI, it's nice to see stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
sequels and other prequels and other official franchise expansions. We had 2011 film The Thing prequel, which after watching this film again, Tone, makes me want to actually watch that film. So I'll probably watch that tonight before I go to sleep.
It's a good one. And even from people who I know who are diehard fans who I went to the movie with, it's not as good, but it's cool the way it is filmed, because I usually am not a prequel guy. I don't like them when they go backwards, but to really kind of fill in the blanks, kind of like it's cool. So check it out. I think you'll at the very least have a good time.
There was also comics. Dark Horse Comics published sequel continuations under The Thing from Another World banner. Had multiple arcs and entries exist. It had abandoned, unmade follow-ups. There have been multiple points in time where additional screen continuations were discussed, but projects have stalled for business rights, market reasons, and God knows what else. Also, the IP. Now, Carpenter always gets asked about this, and there's two things that Carpenter always gets asked about: this film and Big Trouble in Little China. And Kurt Russell has come out and said he would only do Big Trouble in Little China 2 if John Carpenter did it. John Carpenter hasn't really spoken on that, but as of late 2025, Carpenter has confirmed discussions and potential development suggesting a follow-up story is being worked on, possibly continuing from the ambiguous ending. It says that it's more than just rumors. The Carpenter is kind of hinting, with recent mentions of it being in production or in the works, but concrete details remain silent. I hope he's involved heavily, because he hasn't released a movie since, I think, Ghost on Mars, right?
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, I've watched Sophia's watched the Christmas Chronicles like 500 times on Netflix, and seeing Kurt with like white hair or white beard, I could see him really pulling off something cool if they were really hammer it down and get it out. But it would have to happen here pretty soon.
Yeah, John's 78 years old, so I would like it to be done as soon as possible for my guy.
Well, I mean, if they're doing Spaceballs too, and not to say that Mel's behind the camera, he's involved in some way. John could do this. He's got it.
So I just went on IMDb, Tone, and there is so if you look at the director area for John Carpenter, if you look at his credits, there's an upcoming film called The Thing: Alternate Ending. It's a video, and he's the director of it.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if that's going to be a straight to video or what, but very, very interesting to see what is going to happen there. The Thing also, since it's a big success, spawned the video game. This is what I was going to mention earlier. The 2002 video game The Thing, a squad-based survival horror thing, third-person shooter that functions like a narrative continuation. What happens next? And McCready, if you beat the game, survives, and he actually picks you up in a helicopter.
That's awesome.
Child's not in it, just McCready. So maybe Child's was the thing. I don't know. But the reason I mention this is because I don't know if you remember the Spoonie one, who is one of the big D-list video game reviewers back in the day. He doesn't do anything now, but the Thing video game was his big break because he had because in the Thing you have to go and do these electrical boxes and fuse them. And he had a counter, and and there was like 50 of them, and he counted them, was complaining the whole time he had to do it. And the way the mechanics were kind of off, like sometimes you would test somebody with the blood test, and they'd be normal, and then you walk away, and 2 seconds later, they're turning into the Thing, and you have to kill them. It was just a funny video. You could check it out. I think it's still on YouTube. But that when I saw that, because I never played the game, and it made me want to play the game to the point where Night Dive Studios actually re-released a remaster of the game, and again, people wanted to see more of it. They loved the game being remastered. They wanted to make a new video game, and it didn't materialize due to licensing and complexity with that. But we do have a fan theory, Tone.
Oh, these are my favorite.
So this is a short one, but it comes all the way from the Cinephile Reddit. It's called The Thing Ending Mystery Potentially Solved with Spoilers, and it's by CG 1991. So it begins like this. I recently watched the 2011 and 1982 Thing back to back. The ending mystery with Childs McCready has always stumped me, as it does most fans. Now, in the 2011 film, we are shown that it cannot recreate inorganic matter. This is a major plot point of the film. Later in the film, it is found that Carter has been assimilated, and they realize due to his missing ear piercing. At the end of 1982's, the Childs still has his piercing in. So Childs must be alive, right? Mystery solved? No. The creature is all about learning and adapting. This can be seen in the creature behavior between 2011 and 1982 films. In the prequel, the Thing goes on an all-out attack before learning that it will not succeed doing this. In the 1982 sequel, the creature sneaks around to survive. It has learned. So what is to stop Child's Thing from re-piercing its ear to hide? The Thing would have learned and knows inorganic material will give it away. It's adapted. Now, others will say that this does not prove anything. It could simply still be Child's. Fair enough, except Child's isn't breathing. McCready is. Watch their mouths. Watch the steam. Child's doesn't have any. Now, that's not true because we just showed that scene and Child's does have steam. And that Carpenter has come out and said that was unintentional, so it has nothing to do with that. He also included a map, which he says, I created a timeline of the Thing media in hopes that it will become a comprehensive guide to the world of John Carpenter's 1982 Thing. Nothing in the main timeline contradicts itself as far as I'm aware, besides the obvious divergence created by various sequel media. Although the media in the additional materials box does not fit nearly into the timeline, they could still be used to inform the main timeline and still are interesting add-ons. I hope you like it. And then he gives his name as R. Cully. Now, for those who don't know, this is what happens when you love films. Like, the Stranger Things thing was like I said, was fascinating for me to go into and seeing all these theories. But I thought it was fascinating because it was something new. But I mean, there is so many subreddits with so many theories and whatnot. Like Hellraiser has one. I'm a part of that because I'm a nerd, and other stuff like just where they continue to like talk about stuff that hasn't been expanded upon. So they think about what could this be, and this is just another example. In timeline 1, he has Northern Nightmare 2011 comic to the 2011 film The Thing that goes into The Things by Peter Watts in 2010, which is an E story, and then that transfers into the 1982 film. That breaks off into 4 timelines. The first being The Thing from Another World, a 1991 comic that goes into Climate of Fear, a 1992 comic, and then finally Eternal Vows, a 1993 comic. These are all Thing comics. The second timeline is from the Thing 1982 film. It goes to the comic 1993's Questionable Research Comics. Timeline 3 is the Thing Return of the Thing TV show. It was unproduced, but they have the script. I told you these people are crazy. But the fourth timeline actually has the 1982 film going into the video game, the 2002 video game. And that, again, I said McCready lives because he picks you up in a helicopter. And then that was supposed to go into the Thing 2 video game, which didn't come out. So this guy has thought of everything.
That is a lot and awesome. Awesome in a way.
Yeah, so if you want to see the actual picture, check it out. It's on the YouTubes. I don't post the notes no more because that's just a lot for me to post. But you can check it out in the picture on the YouTubes and pause it. It's a cool little graphic this guy made. So any final thoughts, Tone?
Very, very cool breakdown here tonight. And I thought, which I learned recently, that which Universal shot it down, but Carpenter was originally even thinking about shooting this movie possibly in black and white, which would have given it even an extra layer of bleakness on top of however bleak it was already. But just really, Kurt Russell, man. I mean, can you imagine anyone else in that role? No. I can't. No. I mean, just so good. Such a good movie.
Yeah. Classic film. If you haven't seen it, what is stopping you from seeing it? It's cold as shit outside this weekend. Go and watch The Thing.
Perfect
It's
weather.
a classic, man. Before we get to our closing up shop stuff, Tone, what's going on over at the Hookup on Music, my friend?
The Hookup on Music will be back this weekend with lots of goodies. We have a brand new Megadeth album that we're going to be talking about. We also are going to be talking about Sam and Dave, a really good band from the late 60s, 70s, really heavily influenced with the Blues Brothers. We're going to be talking about this band called Frozen Soul, ironically, because it's cold outside. A lot of cool stuff, man. Dig into that. Also doing more honoring of Bob Weir, who just passed recently from the Grateful Dead. Lots. Also, just learned today a bass player from the Scorpions passed away. So talking about a lot of different stuff. That's probably going to drop this weekend sometime. Listen to that. And we just had James Bond last night, where we dug into GoldenEye, some of the video game stuff there. So check that out too.
Yeah, and also Perry Bamonte died.
Yeah,
Crazy stuff from The Cure.
We talked about that on that last episode, which was really, really sad to hear, because he was very influential to their music.
Yeah, I wonder how it's going to go, for Robert Smith and The Cure, which kind of I'm kicking myself in the ass because I haven't seen The Cure live, and now I won't see them, But good stuff, my friend. Also, check out the Drafty Pod. They just dropped a wrestling theme songs episode with our main man here, the Sugar Baggy, along with Baloney and Joey P from the Bums, our guy Shankster, and of course the Draft Master, Magnificent Stan, aka Brian. Fun episode, man. So many songs were going through my head when I was
I know
thinking about it.
You were saying lots of good ones there.
Yeah,
man. A lot of good ones.
Check that out. That's also on our site, on our YouTube channel. On my end, we are going to be recording a new Frame to Frame on Sunday. Me and Cotton are back for the new year, and we are going into the comparisons of the original RoboCop versus the remake.
Ooh, just got around to watching the Toxic Avenger because of you guys. I watched the new one. I had a fun. And tomorrow, I will definitely getting around to the Running Man. So I'll get back to you there.
Awesome. Yeah, let me know how that one is. Also, if you are in the market for custom stickers, I have opened up a business called Penguin Imprints. We have some of the designs I created on there for shirts and whatnot. We will have custom shirts coming in as well, where you can design your own. So penguinimprints.com. And if you want to buy some Sadistic Penguin merch, the website is still up for sadisticpenguin.printify.me, where you can buy that, and that helps support the show. Tone, you ready to get into the Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week?
Let's do it.
Cool. Let's kick this sucker off.
The Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week.
All right, tonight we are digging into our soundtrack pick of the week, which we have is tonight's soundtrack pick of the week is, by coincidence, the Daredevil soundtrack, which is not one that you hear too often, not one that many people talk about. It is more of a nu metal soundtrack. It was released back in February 4th, 2003. 74 minutes long, but loaded with lots of songs. Before I get started into the majority of the soundtrack here, what I always found odd is track 8 is Evening Rain by Moby. You have a soundtrack that is loaded with lots of ridiculous nu metal like Saliva and Seether, and then you got Nickelback and Fuel, and then you got POD, and you got Chevelle and Hoobastank, and then you got Moby, which I love Moby, but it's just cool how they like place that in here. And also in the soundtrack was supposed to be other artists that didn't make the soundtrack that would have probably not made it so much more new metal, but 20 tracks on this one, which makes it really long. But also, though, for the time period of when it came out, when you can get a song with Drowning Pool with Rob Zombie, that's pretty big. Or Nappy Roots with the guy from POD, that's also pretty big. But this little Wind Up Records, they started doing soundtracks around this time. They also did the Punisher soundtrack. Some of the songs that were omitted from the release were Nerd, Lap Dance, House of Pain's Top of the Morning to Ya. But they went on again, like I said, with Marvel Comics to do the Punisher, Fantastic Four, and the Daredevil spinoff, the Elektra. Not much is good from the movie. The soundtrack is probably better than the movie, which is, not saying much. But again, a lot of stuff on here. A lot of, like I said, it gives it a vibe. Also, Bring Me to Life, which is part of the soundtrack. I mean, I'm sure everybody has heard Bring Me to Life by Evanescence, which is... I never really was a fan of that track, but probably because of the "Wake Me Up, wake me up inside, can't wake up." And then what's even ironic is right after, like a year after the album came out, that guy left the band. So like none of their music has that guy doing that "Wake Me Up inside." So, but now that I hear the song,
Moody.
Mindset, not bad. But again, we're checking out.
Yeah, Ben Moody is his name.
Yeah, there you go.
So this album, of course, Evanescence is the song that kind of stuck out because that was played to nauseum on Q101 in Chicago and 101.9 The Mix. Not my favorite song. I actually really like the Chevelle song, Until You're Reformed. I like that one. And then, I'm looking at the playlist right now, like while you were talking about it. It's kind of crazy that Josie Scott and Chad Kroeger are on another album that was really decent because, of course, they're on the Spider-Man soundtrack with Hero. And and they're on here with Bleed For Me and Learn the Hard Way. And I think they're just all trying to recreate, that Spider-Man magic. This film got a 2 out of 5 on AllMusic, which I thought was, what? I don't think it's that bad.
Again, it's a soundtrack for the time, but it's good.
And then I guess they had a Daredevil EP that had "Won't Back Down" by Fuel, "For You," The Calling, "Hang On" by Seether, "Sad Exchange" by Finger 11, and "Let's Go" by 12 Stones.
Oh, very cool.
So, but awesome pick, man. I haven't heard this one in a while.
Looking into the deep cuts here tonight.
Yes, sir. Good pick, my guy.
Thank you.
So that is episode 1 of season 6 for the At the Show podcast. We are here. We're over 100 episodes. We're marching on our way to 150 and eventually 200. We will be back next week for an awesome episode. We'll be releasing the subject on the Twitters and Facebook. Be sure to check us out on Sadistic Penguin Studios for all your music and movie needs there, as well as drafty needs. Appreciate you guys for listening and supporting us this long way. Stay warm. Tone, anything to add?
Yeah, pretty much stay warm. And hopefully hopefully your heaters could get a little bit of a rest every now and then.
Yep. Drink some Abuelita hot chocolate.
There you go.
Take it easy, guys.
Good night.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?